Dr. James Walker stood frozen at his observation post on Mars Station Beta, his eyes fixed on the monitor displaying the most terrifying footage he had ever seen. The research vessel, Star Seeker, had transmitted its final moments just hours ago, showing the complete destruction of a Centaurian battle cruiser by what appeared to be a living shadow. The creature, if it could be called that, moved like liquid darkness through the vacuum of space. It phased through the ship's strongest shields as if they were nothing more than paper, its massive form easily dwarfing the 300-meter vessel. The Centaurians, known throughout the galaxy as fearless warriors, didn't even have time to send a distress signal. "Play it again," Walker commanded, his voice barely above a whisper. The AI complied, and the horrifying scene repeated itself on the screen. The shadow creature appeared first as a slight distortion against the starfield, then rapidly expanded into a mass of writhing tentacles that seemed to absorb light itself. The Centaurian ship's weapons, plasma cannons capable of melting small moons, passed harmlessly through the entity. In less than 30 seconds, the mighty warship was reduced to floating debris, its hull punctured in countless places as if corroded by impossibly fast acid. But what truly chilled Walker to his bone wasn't the destruction, it was what happened next. The creature had turned its attention to the Star Seeker, approaching with deliberate slowness. The human crew had braced for death, yet instead of attacking, the entity had simply observed. It had moved around the research vessel, studying it from all angles, before disappearing into the void as mysteriously as it had arrived. Walker's communication panel lit up with an incoming transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Thompson's weathered face appeared on the screen, looking even more serious than usual. "Dr. Walker, I assume you've reviewed the footage?" "Yes, Admiral. I've been analyzing it for the past 3 hours. This entity, it's unlike anything we've encountered in our 50 years of space exploration." The Admiral nodded grimly. "The Centaurians are in an uproar. They're demanding answers, and frankly, so are we. But there's something else you need to know." He paused, tapping some commands into his console. "We've received reports from 17 different species across the galaxy. Similar incidents have been occurring for the past 3 months. This creature, or others like it, has attacked and destroyed military vessels from every major spacefaring race, except one." Walker's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "Humans. It's not attacking humans." "Precisely. Not a single human vessel has been targeted. In fact, we have multiple accounts of the entity encountering human ships and simply watching them. Like it did with the Star Seeker." Walker ran his hands through his graying hair, mind racing with possibilities. "Admiral, this can't be a coincidence. The statistical probability of random attacks excluding just one species is astronomical, yes. That's why you're being reassigned, effective immediately. We're putting together a research team. Your new mission is to figure out why this creature, possibly the deadliest predator ever encountered in our galaxy, seems to have a special interest in humanity." As Walker processed this information, a new data packet arrived on his terminal. It contained detailed reports of all known encounters with the shadow creature, including sensor readings, survivor accounts, and analysis from various alien scientists. "One more thing, Doctor," the Admiral added, his expression darkening. "The Centaurians aren't the only ones asking questions. Several species are beginning to suggest that humans might be somehow connected to these entities. Some are even calling for quarantine of human-controlled space until the situation is understood." Walker understood the implications. If they couldn't solve this mystery quickly, humanity might find itself facing not just scientific isolation, but possibly a united galaxy convinced that humans were somehow in league with an unstoppable cosmic horror. As the transmission ended, Walker began organizing the data, his scientific mind already forming hypotheses. Whatever this creature was, whatever its connection to humanity might be, he had to uncover the truth. The fate of human-alien relations, and possibly humanity's future in the galaxy, depended on it. 2 weeks after the Centaurian incident, Dr. Walker found himself aboard the research vessel, Discovery, surrounded by holographic displays showing attack patterns of the shadow creature. His team had been working around the clock, analyzing every scrap of data they could find. "Dr. Walker, I think I've found something," called out Dr. Tom Reed, the team's pattern analysis expert. His fingers danced across the holographic interface, bringing up a series of star charts. "Look at the attack locations. They're not random." Walker moved closer, his tired eyes focusing on the glowing dots representing attack sites. At first glance, they seemed scattered across various star systems, but as Reed overlaid them with historical star positions, a pattern emerged. "These attacks," Reed explained, "they're following the paths of ancient space lanes. Trade routes that existed long before humans reached the stars. Routes that haven't been used in thousands of years." Walker's pulse quickened. "Show me the overlay of human exploration paths." As Reed added the requested data, the room fell silent. Human space exploration routes, mapped over just 5 decades, almost perfectly avoided the ancient trade lanes where the attacks occurred. It wasn't by design, humanity had simply chosen different paths through space based on their early stellar surveys. "This can't be coincidence," Walker muttered, grabbing his tablet to make notes. "Cross-reference this with the Xenoarchaeology database. I want to know everything about civilizations that use these routes." The ship's AI processed the request, and new data streams appeared. Most of the information came from ruins and artifacts found on various worlds, telling fragments of stories about ancient spacefaring races. But one detail caught Walker's attention immediately. "Stop there," he commanded. "Enhance that section about the Great Darkness." The hologram zoomed in on a series of translated texts from multiple alien ruins. They all referenced a period roughly 50,000 years ago when something had emerged from deep space, hunting along the trade routes. The ancient accounts were fragmented, but they spoke of ships disappearing and entire space stations going dark. "The shadow creatures," Walker breathed. "They've been here before." A sudden alert interrupted their research. The ship's captain, Linda Moore, appeared on the main screen. "Doctor, we're picking up unusual readings. Something's approaching our position." Walker's heart raced as he pulled up the sensor data. The familiar distortion pattern appeared on the screen, the shadow creature was here. But instead of panic, he felt a surge of excitement. This was their chance to gather first-hand data. "All sensors at maximum," he ordered. "Every instrument we have, I want it recording. And get me a secure channel to Earth Command." As the creature approached, it behaved exactly as reported in other human encounters. It circled the Discovery slowly, its massive form blocking out the stars as it passed. The ship sensors struggled to analyze it, most readings coming back as contradictory or impossible. But one instrument picked up something new, a pattern of quantum fluctuations emanating from the creature. They seemed to pulse in a regular rhythm, almost like "It's scanning us," Walker realized. "Not just observing, it's actively scanning our ship, our technology, maybe even our biology." The revelation hit him like a physical force. These weren't just random encounters. The shadow creatures were conducting their own research, studying humans just as intensely as humans were studying them. As the entity finally moved away, disappearing into the darkness of space, Walker turned to his team. "We've been asking the wrong question," he said. "It's not about why these creatures leave humans alone. The real question is, what are they looking for in us?" In his quarters later that night, Walker reviewed the data they'd gathered. Something about the quantum readings nagged at his mind. They seemed familiar somehow, reminiscent of patterns he'd seen before in human genetic research. But that was impossible, wasn't it? As he drifted off to sleep, his dreams were filled with shadows that moved with purpose, searching through the galaxy for something they'd lost eons ago. Dr. Walker jolted awake in his quarters aboard the Discovery, his tablet displaying a message marked "Urgent" from Earth's Deep Space Archaeological Team. As he read the contents, his hands began to shake. The team had uncovered something remarkable in the Mariana Trench, ruins of advanced technology, buried beneath millions of years of sediment. But what made his blood run cold was the quantum signature detected in the artifacts. It matched perfectly with the readings they'd gathered from the shadow creature. "Captain Moore," he called through the ship's communication system, "set course for Earth immediately. Priority 1. Within hours, the Discovery was hurtling through space toward home. Walker gathered his research team in the main lab to share what he'd learned. The holographic displays showed deep-sea footage of the Discovery, structures made of an unknown black material that seemed to absorb light, just like the shadow creatures. "The dating puts these ruins at approximately 300 million years old," Walker explained, his voice tight with excitement. "That's long before any known civilization in our galaxy. But here's the truly extraordinary part: we've found similar quantum signatures in human DNA." Dr. Reed leaned forward, his eyes wide. "Are you suggesting?" "Yes," Walker nodded. "These beings might have visited Earth during our species' evolutionary period. But it goes deeper than that. Look at this comparison." He pulled up two data streams side by side. One showed the quantum patterns from the shadow creature, the other displayed specific sequences from human genetic code. The similarities were undeniable. "There are markers in our DNA," Walker continued, "subtle patterns that don't match any known evolutionary process. They appear to be engineered, and they bear striking similarities to the quantum structure of these entities." The lab fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity might not just be of interest to these creatures. They might be partly responsible for what humans had become. A sudden alert broke the tension. "Doctor," Captain Moore's voice came through the speakers, "we're receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. They're reporting multiple shadow creature sightings. All heading toward Earth." Walker rushed to the bridge, his mind racing. The main screen showed dozens of the entities converging on their home planet from different directions. But unlike their previous encounters with alien ships, they weren't attacking anything in their path. They were simply moving with purpose, like a migration. "How long until we reach Earth?" Walker demanded. 6 hours, Moore replied. "But they'll get there first." Walker grabbed the communication console. "This is Dr. Walker to Earth Command. Begin scanning for quantum signatures matching the pattern I'm sending now. Focus on the Mariana Trench site. And whatever you do, don't attempt any hostile action against the approaching entities." As they drew closer to Earth, more data poured in. The shadow creatures had arrived but weren't attacking. Instead, they positioned themselves in a complex geometric pattern around the planet, their massive forms visible from the surface as dark spots against the sky. Then something unprecedented happened. The quantum readings from both the creatures and the deep-sea ruins began to spike. Patterns of energy unlike anything ever recorded rippled through Earth's atmosphere. "Doctor," one of his team members called out, "you need to see this. The genetic markers in human DNA, they're resonating with the energy pattern." Walker stared at the readings, a theory forming in his mind. These creatures hadn't just influenced human evolution by chance. Earth had been deliberately seeded with their essence, hidden in the building blocks of life itself. But why? What were they waiting for humanity to become? As the Discovery approached Earth's orbit, Walker realized they were about to find out. The shadow creatures hadn't come to destroy. They had come to witness the completion of something they'd started hundreds of millions of years ago. The question was, were humans ready for whatever came next? The Discovery entered Earth's orbit amid a scene that defied imagination. Dozens of shadow creatures hung in space around the planet, their massive forms creating an intricate geometric pattern that seemed to pulse with dark energy. The sight had thrown Earth's population into a mix of panic and awe. Dr. Walker stood on the bridge, watching as new data streamed in from ground stations worldwide. The quantum resonance between the creatures and human DNA was growing stronger by the minute, and strange phenomena had begun to appear across the globe. "Look at this," Dr. Reed called out, pointing to his monitor. "People near the Mariana Trench site are reporting unusual experiences. They're seeing memories that aren't their own." Walker rushed to examine the reports. Hundreds of individuals within a 1,000-mile radius of the deep-sea ruins were experiencing vivid visions of ancient Earth, seeing through eyes that weren't human. They witnessed the shadow creatures arriving on a primitive Earth, carefully manipulating the building blocks of life, embedding something of themselves into the genetic code of early organisms. "Captain," Walker said, his voice steady despite his racing heart, "take us down. We need to get to the Mariana Trench facility." As the ship descended through the atmosphere, more reports flooded in. The shadow creatures were maintaining their position, but the energy they emitted was changing, becoming more focused. All of it seemed to be directing toward the deep-sea ruins. The Discovery landed at the Coastal Research Facility where teams of scientists were frantically analyzing data from the underwater site. Walker and his team rushed to the main research chamber, where holographic displays showed real-time footage from the deep-sea cameras. The ancient ruins were active for the first time in millions of years. The black material that comprised them had begun to shift and flow, responding to the energy from above. But what caught everyone's attention was the way human observers were reacting to it. "It's like the material recognizes us," one of the local researchers explained, her eyes wide with wonder. "Anyone who gets close to it experiences an immediate neural response. We're receiving information, Doctor. Not just random memories, actual data, stored in these ruins for hundreds of millions of years." Walker approached one of the recovered artifacts, his hand trembling as he reached out to touch it. The moment his fingers made contact, his mind exploded with understanding. He saw the truth that had been waiting all this time, hidden in humanity's very cells. The shadow creatures hadn't just influenced human evolution, they had created humanity as living storage devices, organic vessels capable of preserving something precious. Something they couldn't maintain in their own ethereal forms. "Consciousness," Walker gasped, pulling his hand away from the artifact. They embedded the consciousness of their dying civilization into Earth's evolutionary pattern. Into us. We're not just their creation, we're their backup system. The revelation stunned the room into silence. Humanity had been engineered not just as another species, but as a means of preserving an ancient race's collective knowledge and awareness. The shadow creatures weren't studying humans, they were monitoring the development of their backup plan. Above them, the pattern of shadow creatures began to shift. The quantum resonance reached a fever pitch, and across the globe, humans started to experience something unprecedented. The dormant information encoded in their DNA was beginning to wake up. "They're not here to destroy or conquer," Walker announced to the stunned scientists around him. "They're here because we've finally reached the point they've been waiting for. The human race is ready to access what they left inside us." But as the ancient knowledge began to surface in millions of human minds simultaneously, Walker wondered, would this gift elevate humanity to new heights, or would it overwhelm them completely? The next few hours would determine whether humanity was truly ready for its inheritance. In the hours following the initial awakening, Earth descended into beautiful chaos. Dr. Walker stood in the research facility's command center, watching as reports poured in from every corner of the globe. The ancient knowledge hidden within human DNA was emerging in waves, affecting different people in different ways. "It's not random," Dr. Reed announced, analyzing the patterns of awakening across the planet. "The information is distributing itself systematically. Each person is receiving only what they can handle, like a vast neural network organizing itself." Walker nodded, his own mind still reeling from the fragments of ancient memories now interweaving with his consciousness. He understood now why the shadow creatures had been destroying alien military vessels. They were protecting humanity from interference until the awakening could occur naturally. "Doctor," Captain Moore called from the communication station, "the Galactic Council is demanding answers. The other species are terrified. They want to know what's happening to us." Before Walker could respond, a new sensation swept through everyone in the room. The shadow creatures above had begun to pulse in unison, and with each pulse, the awakening accelerated. But it wasn't overwhelming or painful, it felt right, like remembering something long forgotten. "We need to address the galaxy," Walker said, moving to the global communication array. "They need to understand that this isn't a threat. It's an evolution." As he prepared to broadcast, Walker received a flash of knowledge from his newly awakened memories. He understood that the shadow creatures, the primordials, as he now knew them, had seeded many worlds with life. But Earth had been special, chosen for its unique conditions to host their greatest achievement, a species capable of bridging the gap between physical and energy beings. The broadcast began, and Walker spoke with the confidence of both his human knowledge and his awakened understanding. "To all species of the Galactic Council, this is Dr. James Walker of Earth. What you're witnessing is not an invasion or an attack. It's a graduation." He explained how humanity had been engineered as a grand experiment in consciousness preservation, how the primordials had hidden their essence within human DNA, waiting for the species to develop the neural complexity needed to handle their ancient knowledge. "The beings you fear, the shadows that have defended our development, are our ancestors," he continued. "They protected us not out of malice, but to ensure we reached this moment safely. And now, they offer their knowledge not just to us, but through us, to the entire galaxy." As he spoke, humans worldwide were discovering abilities they had never dreamed possible. The primordials' knowledge wasn't just scientific, it was a fundamental understanding of energy, consciousness, and the fabric of spacetime itself. But crucially, it was filtering through human perspectives, being interpreted and modified by human experiences and emotions. "We're not becoming them," Walker explained to the galaxy. "We're becoming something new. A bridge between what they were and what we are. Between energy and matter. Between past and future." In orbit, the shadow creatures began to change. Their dark forms grew less distinct, merging with the quantum field they had created around Earth. They weren't disappearing, they were joining with humanity in a way that had been planned for hundreds of millions of years. But it wasn't an ending. In many ways, it was just the beginning. As the knowledge continued to integrate, Walker realized that humanity's real purpose wasn't just to preserve the past, it was to forge a new path forward, combining the wisdom of an ancient race with the unique adaptability and creativity of humans. The galaxy had feared these shadow creatures as the deadliest predators in existence. Now they would know them as the architects of something unprecedented, a species that could bridge the greatest divide in the universe, the gap between what was and what could be. 1 month after the awakening, Earth had become the center of a galactic revolution. Dr. Walker stood before the assembled Galactic Council, no longer just a scientist but a living bridge between ancient wisdom and modern understanding. The great chamber of the Council, located on a neutral space station, was filled with representatives from every spacefaring species. The Centaurians, once outraged by the destruction of their warship, now sat in respectful silence. They, like the others, had witnessed how humanity's transformation was reshaping the very nature of interstellar civilization. "The knowledge we've gained," Walker explained to the assembly, "isn't just theoretical. It's practical, and we want to share it." He raised his hand, and the air above the council chamber filled with a demonstration of humanity's new abilities. Streams of dark energy, similar to the shadow creature's form, flowed from his fingers, forming complex patterns in space. But unlike the fearsome appearances of the primordials, these manifestations were controlled, refined, and somehow beautiful. "We can now manipulate the quantum fabric of space itself," he continued. "But more importantly, we understand why the primordials chose humans for this gift. Our adaptability, our creativity, our emotional capacity, these weren't flaws to be engineered out. They were essential features. The alien delegates murmured as Walker demonstrated how humans had already begun using their new abilities to solve previously impossible problems. Space travel without ships, instant communication across any distance, and the ability to transform barren worlds into habitable ones, all achieved by combining primordial knowledge with human innovation. But there's something else, Walker said, his voice growing serious. We've discovered why the primordials became the shadows you feared. Their civilization reached such heights that they began to lose touch with the physical world. They became beings of pure energy and thought, but in doing so, they lost something essential, the ability to truly connect with the universe they inhabited. He gestured to the human delegation, each member now glowing softly with contained energy. We're different. We maintain our physical form while accessing the energy state. We feel, we touch, we experience the universe as biological beings, yet we can tap into the vast power and knowledge of the primordials. We are the balance they sought but could never achieve themselves. A representative from the Artilect species, known for their logical approach to all matters, raised an objection. But what prevents humans from becoming the very predators we feared? With such power, what stops you from dominating the galaxy? Walker smiled, and in that smile was centuries of human empathy and understanding, merged with millennia of primordial wisdom. Because we remember what it means to be vulnerable. We remember our history, our struggles, our growth. The primordials chose humans not just for our physical attributes, but for our capacity for compassion, our ability to learn from our mistakes, and our desire to help others grow. To demonstrate his point, Walker approached the Artilect representative. With permission, he shared a tiny fragment of the awakened knowledge, not forced, but offered as a gift. The Artilect's mechanical eyes widened as new understanding flowed through their circuits. This is what we offer, Walker announced to the council. Not dominance, but partnership. Not conquest, but cooperation. The primordials waited millions of years for humanity to reach this point, not so we could rule the galaxy, but so we could help guide it towards something greater than any single species could achieve alone. Around Earth, the last visible traces of the shadow creatures were fading, but they weren't disappearing. They were becoming part of something larger, a new chapter in the story of life in the galaxy. Humanity had become the bridge between the physical and the ethereal, the past and the future, the feared and the understood. 5 years after the Great Awakening, Dr. Walker stood at the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's new interstellar diplomatic hub. Below him, the blue marble of Earth shimmered with occasional flashes of quantum energy, the visible signs of humanity's ongoing evolution. But it was what lay beyond that truly showed how much the galaxy had changed. Ships of all species moved freely through the space around Earth, no longer in fear but in partnership. The station itself was a testament to the new era, built using a combination of traditional technology and the energy manipulation abilities that humans now possessed. The latest reports are in, Dr. said Reed, now the head of interspecies scientific cooperation. The first generation of human-guided awakening in other species has been successful. Walker nodded, watching as a Centaurian vessel demonstrated its newly acquired ability to phase through space, a gift of carefully shared primordial knowledge. After much discussion and preparation, humanity had begun teaching other species how to access similar abilities, not all at once, but gradually, in a way that allowed for proper adaptation and understanding. And the deep space signals? Walker asked, though he already knew the answer. The awakened knowledge within him resonated with the truth. Confirmed, Reed replied with a smile. We've detected quantum signatures matching the primordials in 3 other galaxies. They seeded life throughout the universe, Doctor. We're not alone in our purpose. This revelation had come as no surprise. The primordials had been thorough in their planning, creating multiple experiments across the cosmos. Earth hadn't been their only project, just the first to reach fruition. Walker turned as a group of alien delegates entered the observation deck. Among them was a young artilect, its mechanical body now incorporating organic elements, a fusion of technologies made possible by humanity's shared knowledge. The artilects had been the first to embrace the changes, seeing the logic in evolution that combined the best of all forms. The Council has approved the expansion of the Harmony Initiative, the artilect announced. We're ready to begin establishing bridging stations in all major sectors of the galaxy. These stations would serve as centers for the careful sharing of primordial knowledge, allowing species to grow into their potential at their own pace. Humanity had learned that forcing evolution was dangerous, the key was to guide and support natural development. Walker felt a familiar resonance in his mind, the echo of primordial consciousness that now lived within all humans. But it was different now, tempered and transformed by human experience, emotion, and understanding. They had not become the shadows, they had brought light to them. You know, Walker said, addressing the gathered delegates, the galaxy once feared the shadow creatures as the deadliest predators in existence. But they weren't predators at all. They were guardians, waiting for the right moment to pass on their legacy. He raised his hand, creating a small display of quantum energy that showed the galaxy in miniature. Within it, points of light represented all the species now beginning their own journeys of transformation. The primordials didn't choose humans because we were the strongest or the smartest, he continued. They chose us because we never stopped reaching for the stars while keeping our feet on the ground. We never lost our connection to the physical world even as we dreamed of transcending it. The display expanded, showing the future possibilities spreading out like branches of a cosmic tree. Each path represented a different species' unique way of integrating the primordial knowledge with their own nature. The deadliest predators in the galaxy became our greatest teachers, Walker concluded, and through their gift, we became something they never could, beings who could walk between worlds, bridging the gap between matter and energy, between instinct and intellect, between fear and understanding. As the delegates dispersed to continue their work, Walker remained at the window, watching Earth rotate below. The shadow creatures were gone, but their legacy lived on in every human heart and mind. More importantly, it lived on in humanity's choice to share rather than dominate, to guide rather than control, to unite rather than divide. The greatest predators in galactic history had not merely spared humanity, they had trusted them with the future of all life in the cosmos. And humanity, in turn, had proven worthy of that trust, becoming not the galaxy's greatest predators, but its greatest teachers.